Is Cuba's regime about to collapse? Nicolás Maduro's capture has cut Cuba off from a critical lifeline, Venezuela's oil. Time is running short to figure out an alternative supply, or risk devastating blackouts on the island. Since the 2000s, Venezuela has been Cuba's most important ally. Venezuela provided discounted oil, which helped Cuba power its electricity grid and generate hard currency by selling the oil on. In exchange, Cuba sent its doctors and security personnel to Venezuela. But ever since America started blockading Venezuelan oil exports last year, Cuba has been cut off. Cuba has also been supported by Mexico, politically and financially. But President Trump is pushing for an end to that too.
Mexico is going to cease sending them oil.
Mexico's last oil shipment to Cuba was unloaded on January 9th.
I think Cuba will not be able to survive.
The communist regime which runs Cuba is now unusually vulnerable. Decades of government mismanagement, combined with the American embargo on the island, have left its economy in dire straits. Last year, there were 5 nationwide blackouts. Most people can no longer afford imported food. Cuba's regime is not as corrupt or chaotic as Venezuela's, but it is famously uncompromising. On January 11th, its president, Miguel Díaz-Canel, vowed to resist American aggression until the last drop of blood. But the situation is becoming so bad that the regime may well have to negotiate. One way it could appease America is by opening up its private sector. The regime liberalized a bit in the early 2000s, but reforms were later put on hold or reversed. Cuba could also offer to free political prisoners or hold elections. There are still around 1,000 people in prison after the last big protests, which were crushed in 2021. There's no guarantee that President Trump won't use force to try and achieve his aims. His policy on Cuba is heavily influenced by Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, who is a second-generation Cuban-American.
We are dealing with the Cuban leaders right now. It's a failed nation.
But the more Trump says about Cuba, the harder it becomes for him to back down. Unlike in Venezuela, there's no oil to tempt him, but perhaps he likes the look of Havana's hotels and golf courses. Signals from the Trump administration suggest a deal is on the cards. If Cuba doesn't get one, its decline looks likely to continue.